As we continue to have fun with you here. As I've said many times, I'm Greeny, I'm in Bristol. We are getting up with you every single morning, and we are going to get through all of this thing together. And here's how we're going to do it in this hour. It's time to get up with Tampa and a stunning statement from the Buccaneers head coach. One superstar is not joining TB in TB. We'll tell you which one and why, and whether or not it makes sense. Before that, LeBron James looking ahead, outlining a plan for how his team can still win a championship this year. He was talking to RJ. We'll talk to RJ as we roll on. And then his has become maybe the most popular feed on Twitter. But the story of how it came to be may absolutely shock you. Rex Chapman in this hour of Get Up, which starts right now. And it starts with Get Up and Go. Take you through the busy world of sports on this day. Roger Goodell sent a memo to every team in the league last night confirming the draft will go on as scheduled, April 23rd through the 25th. He said the NFL Management Council Executive Committee was, quote, unanimous and unequivocal that the draft should go forward as scheduled. He also warned against publicly criticizing that decision. His memo read in part, public discussion of issues relating to the draft serves no useful purpose and is grounds for disciplinary action. Everyone recognizes that the public health conditions are highly uncertain and there is no assurance that we can select a different date and be confident that conditions will be significantly more favorable than they are today. I also believe the draft can serve a very positive purpose for our clubs, our fans, and the country at large, and many of you have agreed. So they're doing the draft as scheduled. Elsewhere, baseball and the Players Association striking a deal last night on key economic issues as they hope to salvage their season. The deal covers salary advances, shortening the draft, and guaranteeing full service time even if the whole season gets canceled. That may be the most important piece. Jeff Passan explained it all last night with Scott Van Pelt.
If there are no games played this year, then Mookie Betts is still going to be a free agent this offseason. Then Trevor Bauer, Marcus Stroman, JT Realmuto, big name guys who could have missed out on a year and had their free agency delayed by a year, they're going to be out on the market. And this was a big concession from owners, but one that they wanted to make because they understood if Major League Baseball is seen as the sport that is bickering amid this crisis, it is a terrible, terrible look.
We get up and go next to the world of golf. Golf news, the New York Post reporting that the U.S. Open at Winged Foot is set to become the third major to be postponed, although the hope is that the suburban New York club can still host the event in either late summer or early September. The Open had been scheduled for June 18th through the 21st. And then the NBA is reducing the base salaries of approximately 100 of the league's top earning executives by 20%. Many of those work in the league's headquarters in New York, including that man, the most famous face in the league, and that, of course, is the Commissioner Adam Silver. We'll have more basketball as we go, but right now, I'm going to get to the football, and let's get to the run the hurry up here with our NFL insider, Jeff Darlington. Jeff, what's the latest on Jadeveon Clowney?
Jadeveon Clowney, Greeny, still looking for that money at this point. Now, I still continue to think that he'll wind up back in Seattle. It's a situation where these NFL restrictions make it tough for a team to spend all of that dough on a guy that they might still be wondering from a health perspective. So it makes the most sense to me if he winds up back in Seattle, gets maybe paid not quite as much as he wants, maybe even on a one-year deal to prove it for the years to come.
He was once the first pick in the draft. So was Cam Newton. Where's he going?
That's right, another guy in the same situation where he wants that big money. He's a big polarizing name, kind of like Clowney, but also facing a dire situation with his health. Do we continue to wonder whether he's got the shoulder and the foot in good shape? A team necessarily can't dictate that without getting him into the building. I still think the second wave, the real wave of free agency, doesn't come until after this coronavirus situation is over.
And then another number one overall pick, Jameis Winston. How about him?
I sound like a bad record here, but I'm going to say it again. It's a situation where now, not necessarily from a health perspective, but potentially from a character perspective, teams want to sit down with Jameis Winston. I was talking to one general manager of a quarterback-needy team, basically pointed out, though, unless you can bring him into the facility and really feel him out and where he is in his life, it might be tough to commit. So all three guys, Greeny, facing situations where these NFL restrictions are making very difficult for a team to fully invest.
And then there's Dak Prescott. The Cowboys are continuing contract discussions with him. Ed Werder reporting that a source wouldn't describe a contract resolution as close, but said discussions are not contentious, and that when it's all said and done, Prescott will emerge as the highest paid NFL player. We had Ed a little earlier, and I've got Jeff, and I've got D. Wood joining the party this morning. Damian Wood is with us, along with Booger. And so, Jeff Darlington, I'll start with you. What are you hearing about the latest with Dak Prescott?
Well, finally, somebody I can talk to about that doesn't have to do with the NFL restrictions on them, because that is obviously not the case. These guys know each other as well as anybody. To me, it's still a matter of not the money. I think that the Cowboys are willing to pay him the money at this point. Now it's the structure of the deal. When you start to get to that point, I feel like you're at least getting closer. By all means, there's no real reason at this point to rush. The deadline, in my opinion, becomes midsummer when it comes to getting long-term deals done with these franchise players. So put July 15th on your calendar. Until then, honestly, the leverage really isn't in anybody's court. They just kind of need to kind of hunker down and figure out if they can figure this out before the imposed deadline.
D. Wood, you're new to the party this morning, so I'll give it to you here. Do you, when I say the words Dak Prescott will be the highest paid player in the history of professional football, what thought jumps through your mind?
It wouldn't surprise me. You know, a lot of people equate, you know, when somebody's up for a contract, or he has to be the best at his position. No, that's not the case. I mean, listen, Kirk Cousins got one of the highest paid contracts, I think the highest paid contracts, when he signed his 3 all guaranteed deal. It's about the timing. It's about when you hit the market at the right time. And for Dak Prescott, this is a guy who's a 4th-round pick, and he has the 2nd most wins since coming to the league under Tom Brady, behind Tom Brady. So if you're Dak Prescott right now, you've seen Carson Wentz, you've seen Jared Goff, you've seen these other guys get their money. So Dak Prescott's like, okay, I'm looking to leapfrog them to keep pushing the market forward.
Let me ask you this, Booger, because I haven't had you on in a while. Let's say that, and I don't think this is what's expected, but if they cannot figure out a deal with Dak by the middle of July, and he has to play the year on the franchise tag or not play, do you think he should sign it, or do you think he should go hang out wherever it was Zeke spent last year in Cabo and wait for Jerry to come?
Well, Greeny, that all depends on where Dak Prescott wants to eventually play, because I think if he wants to be in Dallas, the thing I would do is at some point sign the deal, come out, be taught by Mike McCarthy, and continue to improve, and eventually you think the deal will get done. I just think it's a shame that we're at this point. I mean, how many franchise quarterbacks that have done things the right way, that are generally liked by their organization, their teammates have nothing bad to say about him, have to go through this? I just think that we're at a point right now where a lot of people and some NFL analysts can't even wrap their heads around it, saying Dak Prescott is going to be the highest paid player in football, and I don't know why. He's actually earned that, Green. If you go back and look at the last 4 years, the tape that he's put on film, how he's played, what he's done, he's been a model citizen on and off the field, and he has improved year after year. For some reason, though, we all ask this question: can we wrap our brains around Dak Prescott being the highest paid player in the NFL? Yeah, I can, because it's his turn. He's earned it, and if you project what he could be in the future, I think his ceiling is as high as anybody out there, maybe aside from Patrick Mahomes.
Maybe the most important thing you said there was it's his turn. The guy who's the highest paid is not the best one. It's always the next one. And I'll read it to you again. Hembo sent it to me. These have been the highest paid players in the NFL since 2010. It was Aaron Rodgers, then it was Joe Flacco, then Andrew Luck, then Derek Carr, Matthew Stafford, Jimmy Garoppolo, Kirk Cousins, Matt Ryan, Aaron Rodgers again, and then Russell Wilson. It's just about when your deal comes up. Dak is next in line. He's going to get the money, and that's the way it works in the NFL. Guys, stay with me. We're coming back to more football, but we've got to get to LeBron because he spoke extensively yesterday for the first time since the NBA suspended its season. He was a guest on the Road Trippin' podcast with, among others, our own Richard Jefferson. And LeBron explained some of the challenges the NBA faces as it hopes to get back on the court, especially if games resume without fans.
Having a game without fans is just what is sport? What is the word sport without fans? There's no excitement. There's no crying. There's no joy. There's no back and forth. There's no rhyme or reason that you want to go on a road and just dethrone the home team because of their fans and vice versa. Like, that's what also brings up the competitive side of the players, to know that you're going on the road in a hostile environment. And yes, you're playing against that opponent in front of you, but you really want to kick the fans' ass too.
And LeBron said all of that and more on your podcast, Richard Jefferson, and we are delighted you got up early for us this morning out in L.A. What was your primary reaction to that part of the conversation? Well, LeBron, it's not the first time he has suggested that he would be very hesitant to play games if the fans aren't in the buildings.
I don't think he's necessarily hesitant, because he understands that he's not bigger than the league. No one player is bigger. I think for him, he was just talking about, he doesn't know what the experience would be. No one wants to play without fans. No one wants that experience. He's just saying he doesn't know. He doesn't, like, for his entire career, and everybody that plays sports, especially on that level, understand that there's a component that your brain is geared to. Okay, we're going to a hostile environment. We're going to go play in Boston, and the crowd is going to be this. So that's just a part of your preparation. So to take all of that away, that's just something that I think is foreign for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think basketball, where the fans are so much closer to the action, so much more a part of the experience for the players. In football, I think it would be quite different. What else did you take away from the conversation? The most important pieces. We played earlier a soundbite about talking about what LeBron would like to see if and when the NBA is able to return this year. What did you think was the most important part there?
I think that the most important part is when he talked about how his body can decondition very quickly now that he is older. So, it doesn't matter what this time off is going to do for all the different players. When you're a mid-30 player and your body can decondition very, very quickly, everyone makes it seem like in a month, in 2 months, or in 3 weeks, whenever we get this thing started, all of these teams are just going to just keep going like ho hum. No, there's going to be a huge component of who stayed in shape, who had access to a gym. This is not like a lockout where everybody is able to train together or train individually or play basketball. Guys can't even get to basketball. There's guys that have no access to gyms. So I think for the one thing that I took away from him is like how he's trying to keep his body and mind sharp. And that goes for a lot of players. That's going to be the most difficult part when the season does start back up.
And then how about if we are fortunate enough that they're able to come back and play and create whatever a playoff scenario might be and have a champion? What do you see that looking like? How would you like to see that work out?
I honestly, I really think that the final spot should be some sort of play-in. They've talked about all the different things to change the NBA, about changing the schedule and doing this. Well, one of the things that was proposed is maybe a play-in game for 8. Well, I think now if you have 4 or 5 teams, maybe everyone plays against each other 5 or 6 times, right? Or across that kind of group. And then you have a play-in for that final spot, maybe a best out of 3 to see who gets the opportunity to go against the Lakers, which, again, we talked about Portland. Portland gets everybody back. They get Nurkic back, possibly Zach Collins back. You added Carmelo. That could be the team rolling into Los Angeles at the 8th seed. Now, that's something that could pose a lot of problems.
Boy, would I love to have that conversation in the next couple of weeks, and I really hope we do. Hey, quickly, finally, you got him on your podcast. How'd you do that? Who's your booker? That's quite a booking.
I don't have a booker. Allie Clifton is the one that organized it. And I think he was so bored that he just wanted me and Channing Frye to say really, really stupid things and make him laugh. Very similar to why you have me on your show and why you miss me so dear. You're just like, what is this idiot going to say today? Let's talk to him.
Correct. If that's what he's looking for, you're just the men to do it. Richard, thank you, my friend. It is genuinely great to see you. Be well. We'll see you again
Greeny,
as soon as we can. That's Richard Jefferson. As we continue, if the Dolphins want Tua, they're going to have to move up in the draft. So says one of our experts, and he'll explain why coming up. Plus, if Tampa fans hope to watch Tom Brady throwing to Antonio Brown, those hopes were crushed